Yo, what is up guys, your boy RapTRz here today, bringing you a video on how to counter Morigesh, or basically how to counter every kind of initial burst caster hero that is in Paragon today. A lot of people have a lot of complaints about Morigesh, saying that she's overpowered and that she's too easy to play or whatnot, and that she's gonna get tweaked. Well, a lot of heroes get tweaked on their initial release. Heroes barely and rarely ever tend to stay in the initial state when they do get released. Usually the week after, they usually get a patch, whether it's a nerf or a buff or a slight tweak. Most of them receive a slight tweak as part of just the process. As in a beta, it's part of a process. They get, you know, data and basically the statistics on how she's gonna play into the game and how she works into against other heroes, or if she's too powerful or whatnot. And something inside of me tells me that she's gonna get the nerf hammer. I think her abilities are a little bit too generous and a little bit too easy when it comes to damage, and I think she's gonna get nerfed damage wise slightly, or maybe I feel like mainly her hive is gonna get nerfed. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about how complain about Morigesh. Today I'm showing you how to counter Morigesh and other burst casters in the game. It's been a video that I wanted to make when she initially came out, but I just haven't had the time to get around with it, basically because I'm working on a build video for her that is hopefully gonna release during this week or the weekend. But I just want to make a quick video talking about how to counter Morigesh in general and other burst casters. Well, first of all, you got to keep in mind that Morigesh is kind of a hero that you want to deal with, as a hero that you don't want to get near to in close proximity of. And that goes a long ways, especially in mid lane in the early game. She could be a really big lane bully, and you need to be careful of her poke, because her kit is focused around poking enemies down to low health and low HP, and that is a really big problem, especially in the early game. And she could do a lot of damage to you if you don't play accordingly. You want to keep a safe distance away from Morigesh. I know that's harder than it sounds, but for example, a lot of Morigesh players, once they use her health regen to dash towards you, they're most likely going to go all in and try to do some damage to you. Some really good advice that I recommend is playing safely against her. Don't play too aggressive against her, especially in the early game, just because she most likely will outpoke you in the early game just based off her kit and her dot damage, which is her hive. A lot of times she will try to engage on you with that movement speed ability, and when that happens, you could sometimes just move back, or if you're playing howitzer, throw a mine at her. If you're playing BELICA, use a seismic assault on her, and always try to read that out as soon as it happens, because most of the time when they engage, they're going all in. This is typical for other heroes like Shinbi or Countess. If they go in on you, they're most likely gonna go all in. I mean, that varies for Countess. I mean, she has her blink ability, so she can just blink back and not really have to deal with it if she changes her mind. But you could definitely punish Morigesh for trying to engage at you, especially at a wrong time or a time that wouldn't be so fit for her. But you could definitely engage and punish them for doing that. Now, another thing about Morigesh is that she's not too strong in the early game when it comes to clearing minion waves. She has a really bad wave clear, especially in the beginning of the game. If you can outpush the minion wave, she will have to deal with the minion wave, and she doesn't have optimal wave clear like Gideon or Howitzer or Gadget might have, even BELICA might have. Her wave clear is not as good in the beginning. That's something I've noticed when I was playing her, or when I was playing against another Morigesh, is that her wave clear is not the best when it comes to the early game. And you can really use this to your advantage. If you have the wave pushed up a lot of the time and you don't give Morigesh enough room to be able to rotate, then you could really use that to your advantage. Again, she doesn't have good wave clear from what the experience I've been playing, so you can really capitalize on that and basically take that to your advantage, so you can rotate more and not have to deal with Morigesh rotating to other lanes. If you give her room and you play passively against her, Then if your lane's always pushed, then she will punish you for that, and she will poke you out of your lane by the time you know it, and she can rotate to other lanes if you really don't push the lane. And in general, as a mid laner, I like playing aggressively, and I think it works out a little bit more better than playing passively, because it allows you to have your lane push and be able to rotate to other lanes, which is also a really important factor when it comes to mid laning in general. Now, there's going to be a really hard balance between playing aggressively and playing cautiously. When you're playing against her, you want to play aggressively, as in pushing the lane, but at the same time, you want to play aggressively where you want to combat with her. Especially in the early game, you don't really want to fight her. You don't want to engage on her directly. You want to engage on minions and keep the wave pushed, and you kind of want to wait out till you have more power, so you can land combos like a Howie Mine to a Howitzer Missile, or a Gideon Burden to a Cosmic Rift, or basically to the point where you build enough damage so you can have an actual impact on maybe poking her out of lane, because she will have a pretty good advantage when it comes to poking you out of your lane if you let her build that card power. So it's really good to play aggressively against the minions, but not too aggressively towards her directly. Now, it's obviously a fine line. If you're just a really skilled mid laner, if you can outplay her, then that goes a long way, and that's just a different topic. But it's just a little bit of a guide or a tip that I can give you when it comes to playing against Morigesh. Now, when it comes to Morigesh in team fights or just in combat in general, she's one of those heroes that you kind of want to focus on, and you want to have a high priority or a high bounty placed on top of her head. Why is this important or something to keep in mind? Well, Morigesh is one of those heroes that you really want to deal with, because if you let them do their thing, if you let them get their combos off, especially on your carry, for example, in a team fight, that can be really devastating. And that's basically the whole point that's based around their kit, is to target single enemies and burst them down. This also goes back to Shinbi and Countess. If you let them do their thing in a team fight and you don't focus them or you don't worry about them, they can do a lot of damage, and they could take down heroes in a matter of seconds, literally a couple seconds. They could take down your carry, for example, if you don't take care of them. So when it comes to Morigesh and these people that have really high burst ultimates, or burst ultimates, most of the time, like Shinbi and Countess and Morigesh have like kind of bursty ultimates, you want to make sure you focus them when it comes to a team fight. Now, this is different for other casters. Sometimes other casters, you don't really focus them in a team fight, because most of the time, a lot of these casters that don't have quote unquote a bursty ultimate, you could kind of dodge their ultimate, or you could wait out their ultimate, or you could just plain out not even get trapped in the AoE ultimate, like casters like Howitzer, Gadget, and Gideon, for example. They have AoE ultimates that are really, really good for team fights, but if you can counter those ultimates or simply just get out of them, then most of the time they're not much of a help when it comes to team fights. If most of the time their ultimate is the thing you really got to worry about, and if you could dodge that, they're not really such a high priority target when it comes to team fights. Most of the time you want to focus like on the carries and then the caster for the most part when it comes to team fights. So they're not as a high priority target when it comes to team fights in general. I mean, obviously it does matter sometimes that, if they're building a lot of damage, that you want to focus at more damage people, but it's kind of they're not as a high priority. I don't know if that makes sense to you. But when it comes to assassins or casters such as Shinbi or Countess or Morigesh, the intensity or basically the scale of priority in a team fight is a little bit higher for them, because if you don't deal with them right away, they could punish you by deleting like your carry or something, for example. So they basically essentially become a higher priority when it comes to team fights, and that in its own right is an advantage they have, because now you have to deal not only with the carry, which is another high priority target, but you have to deal with a burst caster, and burst casters could be really deadly if you let them do their thing. So that's basically another difference between a caster and then a burst caster. I think burst casters are should be a little bit more prioritized when it comes to team fights, because if you let them do their thing, again, they could punish you hardly for that, and any good burst caster will punish you if you don't focus them. So basically, focusing down a Morigesh, Morigesh, if you could focus her down quickly and get her out of the team fight as fast as you can, then you can easily shut her down and easily shut down her kit or her advantage that she has, and that is, you know, being a burst caster. Because again, she's one of those heroes that you want to deal with right away, and if you don't do that, then you'll get punished for it. So also some really good counter picks to Morigesh is BELICA. She's also a really good counter pick to casters. I mean, in general, BELICA is a counter pick to every caster, and why you see her always picked in higher elo play. Do not underestimate BELICA. She is such a great counter for almost nearly every caster. So BELICA is a great counter pick to Morigesh as well. Also, SERATH is a good counter pick. Grimmix is a good counter pick. Because they have invulnerability. SERATH has an invulnerability. Grimmix has his shield. Who else has a really good? Basically anybody who can have a temporary shield, like MURIEL is also a good counter pick. Also anybody with CC is a good counter pick to Morigesh, because CC is really crucial and really effective against burst casters. If you can get one good stun off on Morigesh, or you know, on Countess or on Shinbi, you can really shut them down because they're really squishy in general. So that's also really good kryptonite to Morigesh. Also, some other cards that are really good against Morigesh is Stasis Gem. Honor the Pure is really good. If you could read out her ultimate and you could use Stasis Gem right before it happens, that's really good. Also, Honor the Pure can negate a lot of that damage as well. Also, Bubble Tap, I think it's an intellect card. It gives you a shield when you consume mana. That's also really good against to counter Morigesh. If you look at the card system, there is some really good cards in there that can counter her, especially Stasis Gem, Honor the Pure, Bubble Tap, and I think there's another one in there that can help with that. But just looking at cards, if you look through cards, you can easily find some counter picks or some cards that can help against Morigesh, like situational cards. Like you can have a whole deck just based on Morigesh. Like you can have an anti-Morigesh deck and you can have like Stasis Gem in there. Or if you have an anti-burst caster deck, you can have Stasis Gem. You know, you can have freaking Honor the Pure or Bubble Tap. You know, if you're an intellect hero. And those are really good cards, literally like physical cards that actually counter Morigesh in general. But yeah, that's really most of the tips I can give you guys on how to counter Morigesh. Keep in mind, she's really not good in the early game, so if you can capitalize on the early game, you can have a really big advantage, because Morigesh is kind of a late game hero. But if you let her do her thing in the early game and you are too recklessly playing around her, she can punish you for that. So you really got to play a lot smarter when it comes to playing Morigesh. You got to play a lot smarter. You got to read them out. Like, are they playing super aggressive? If they're playing super aggressive, then try to not engage on them. Most of the time, that's what I find out, is I kind of don't want to fight her and wait out till I get enough CXP to be able to fight her and to be able to land stronger combos in her, because her hive just does dot damage and that can really wear you down. Also, don't stay around her when you have low health. That's something that also you really need to keep in mind. Maybe building a health regen card within your deck can also counter her dot damage. If you build some health regen, then you can really stay on your lane a lot longer, and you don't have to worry about backing every time, you know, having to worry about that dot damage. So if you can build a health regen card, that's also really good against Morigesh. Having a healer token is really good, along with some health regen stats is also really good as well. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, found some useful tips. I do plan on getting a Morigesh video out soon, hopefully by this weekend. And sorry if I sound a little bit sick on the video or something. I don't know if you could tell, but my allergies be fucking me up right now, and it sucks, and it really sucks right now. But I did want to get this video out. It's just hard commentating when your throat is like super like just shitty. It just hurts. But yeah, apologize for that. I also plan on making a guide video on how to make a deck, which I tried to do today, but my voice just didn't let me do it because it hurt. Like, it literally hurt. Like, I could not talk after like 10 minutes. Like, I felt like my throat was bleeding. Like, damn. But yeah, also hope you guys liked that intro. It was pretty fucking sexy, right? Yeah, anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's your boy RapTRz here, and I'll see you guys on Paragon. I will try to get a Morigesh build video up at the weekend, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. It's your boy. Peace, deuces, bye. have a good day and shit. Yeah.